All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is KARAC HENDRIKS. This road is mine. Got my son Cohen here across the table. And we also have a special guest, which anyone watching on YouTube can see. We've got little Archer here, the one and only, the cat. He, for some reason, has decided to join us and plop right in the middle. I had all my strings, guitar strings, laid out in order of size from smallest to largest. That is out the window now. And
it's just numerical, so...
Well, yeah,
Won't
it's
be too hard.
Yeah, for sure.
Tip it
It's
back.
Yeah, I should be able to pull that together relatively quickly. Let's put your mic a little bit closer there. Yeah. So yeah, we're just going to be rocking the discussion today. Is all about. This was a big one for me. Probably a big one for you too.
Certainly the guitar player.
Well, look at that. Yeah, Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms. Yeah, we're gonna just push that right there. And for anyone watching on YouTube, yeah, you're going to see the cover of that beautiful national guitar. That is a Dobro is actually a brand name. It's like Kleenex, but it's what you'd call a resonator guitar, an aluminum or metal resonator guitar.
Looks cool.
They look fantastic. Yeah,
the frets are cool too. Like it makes an X there. I never noticed that.
That's true. Yeah. Look at that. Yeah, I wonder. I assume that's a drawing, but yeah, I don't know. It looks pretty real. Would they always have fret like dots like that? Because it's like that's usually the 12th or the
12 has 1, 15 has 2,
Oh, okay.
17 has 1, and then 19 has 2.
19 has 2. Okay, and then 24 has 2
normally
again.
12 has 2.
Okay. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Mark Knopfler, Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms. Obviously, is the album that I grabbed. It's also the newest one I have on vinyl. I have Dire Straits was a big earworm in my household. We had obviously the first album, Dire Straits 78, Communique 79, and then it's funny because probably my favorite one is Making Movies, the third album. And it's one I don't have on vinyl, but should probably correct that sometime.
Yeah, I haven't listened to Dire Straits in years, honestly.
Yeah.
It's been quite a while since I've gone through their stuff.
Did you go through like full albums? I can't even remember what you went through.
I don't know. I know that when I had my paper route when I was like 10, they were on my listening at the time.
Yeah.
At some point, I probably did. So.
Well, I mean, they can be a little bit redundant as a band in some ways. I fully understand why people might tune out on them. Certainly for guitar nerds, they were and still are like an amazing band. There's really no one quite like Mark Knopfler. I mean, you can hear his influences pretty directly. Obviously, J.J. Cale. We talked about J.J. Cale a lot. And he is British, so the Albert Lee connection. There was a contingent of what they called over there pub rock. That's where your bands like Brinsley Schwartz and Dave Edmunds. Those are definitely Nick Lowe. Those kinds of guys. So he, in some ways, fell into that trap, but. Like if you can hear Sultans of Swing anytime when it's on the radio and you go, wow, wasn't that
great
cool?
Song. Yeah, that's actually, it came on the radio, probably on Pop Rocks.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that was a Lithium one.
I
swapped.
Actually, I'd be surprised if it was Pop Rocks either, though. It might have been Deep Tracks probably or something if you got the Sat Radio rolling there.
But yeah, and then I had to go back and re-listen to it from the start. And that's a great track.
Yeah, and the studio version is it's just so exceptional. It's so clean. If I recall, he played like just guitar into an amp with no compressor or anything. Like he was one of those guys. It's all in the hands.
Yeah, his guitar sounds great on that song.
Yeah, and that's how a Strat can sound and should sound. It's songs like that make me not want to give up on the Stratocaster. Even though I'm still a Telly guy in so many ways, but
that's a whole conversation, I think.
Well, it is, and it will always come up.
I think it just depends. I don't think you could possibly stick with one.
No, I can't.
Well, I mean, you could, but it would just. I don't know why. If you think it would sound better with another one, then I don't know why you wouldn't use it.
Well, there is a feel. There's a feel aspect to like just the way they feel.
Tellys seem to be, they feel more flat to me, not in the sound or anything.
I know exactly what you mean.
The fretboard feels more flat, and Strats feel a little more scalloped. I don't know if they are. They're not scalloped, but they feel like you can dig more into a Stratocaster.
Yeah, there's different elements, and some of them you can get on both too. I mean,
Yeah.
people tend to not want to admit it, but the Strat was an improvement on the Telly. That they, Leo said, okay, I can do better, and he put a tremolo on, he put a third pickup in, and he made it more contoured to the body, so it's got more rounded edges. So it's a very comfortable guitar. But tuning can be an issue, like any guitar with a bridge that with a trim system on it, and the Telly, because as Brad Paisley calls it, a baseball bat with strings. You can't really go wrong. And but to be honest, like depending on if I'm doing a session or if I'm just even playing live jamming, I can make a Strat sound more country than my Telly, because there's a twangier sound to it, a hollow sound, especially if you like go right to the bridge pickup and I turn the treble down a little bit to take some of that quack out of it. Yeah. And then if you play near the bridge, you can get a really like a tick-tocky kind of, it's just nothing like it. But
the Telly's actually used quite a bit in the math rock world.
Yeah.
It's like the signature sound is pretty much a Telecaster and then a chorus pedal.
Yeah.
And that's your emo math rock.
Yeah, it's funny, which we have from this era as well, we have to thank is from the Police, right? Like that was Telly with chorus and compression a lot
beautiful.
Too. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. And the Telly, the tuning is so stable. Like if I'm ever doing an outdoor gig or whatever, it's I just go straight to Telly. I've taken my Les Paul out and it just doesn't hold up either, even though there's no tremolo system. But as far as the Strat sound, that Sultans of Swing really ushered in a new, I don't know, kind of a clean Strat sound.
Because he uses that red one, right?
Well, he had others over the years. To be honest, did you ever watch that? I have that live concert, that Alchemy. That was their first.
I think we watched it.
I think
together.
we did in the house, quite a bit. And there's actually like a documentary in there too, like a BBC documentary, and they show him. I think he was recording Making Movies probably around that time. So, really, really cool insight into his world. But the funny thing is, by the time Brothers in Arms came around, that's Les Paul, and he actually plays Les Paul more, or from what I've seen anyway, like far more through the ages after that. To get that really squawky.
That's cool.
I assume there's a wah that's turned on and left on to make that sound.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But I know I've told you before, but Mark Knopfler is the only guitar hero I had on my wall.
Yeah,
when I was a kid.
That's so funny.
Well, what's really funny is like he is like the anti-guitar god, and I think I've always had a bit of a sardonic take on life as it is, and he's balding by then. He's
funny.
He's got these cheesy those sweatbands that you wear on your wrist.
Oh, God, yeah, of course, I can see that. Yeah, probably goes for a fucking run at 9 and probably like 5 in the morning.
Oh yeah, Well, I don't think he was a bad boy at all. So I'm sure he was like up at the crack with him working out with Sting when they were singing that part. I Want My MTV. I'm sure
great,
they were. Sting. Yeah. But here's a guy that's just trying to write these really cool songs in an Irish folk tradition.
Yeah.
With like slapping on some rock. And yeah, it's been amazing to watch Mark Knopfler's journey. And the funny thing is, the Dire Straits is really a small part of his journey. He has way more albums as a solo artist now, and even during this time, he was already doing soundtrack work. There's a movie called Local Hero that really turned everyone's ears onto what he could do from an arranging perspective. I'm not sure if he's a reader or not. I would imagine. Yeah, he's pretty accomplished, but. Even by the time Dire Straits was done, he'd already done 4 soundtracks. He also did the soundtrack to one of the best movies of all time, which is The Princess Bride.
Oh, really? I didn't actually know that. That's cool.
So it's got some beautiful like swell, like some keyboard swells in the back, and then he's doing all these really cool, nice guitar fills.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But there's a song called "Going Home," the theme from Local Hero. You'll see it on a lot of like Best of Dire Straits. It'll be like the one song from his soundtrack era. Just an awesome instrumental song. One of the few instrumental songs you can actually put on this too. It's got some great sax in it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I disagree. I can listen to instrumentals.
Well, that's true. Yes. Excuse me. Yes. How dare I?
Yeah.
Yeah. I shouldn't be so rude.
I actually really like when guitar. Well, not even just guitar players, but any musician goes from the music industry and starts composing and scoring for films. Yeah. I think that's super cool.
Absolutely, yeah. Well,
And video games too.
yeah. Well, we were just talking about.
Steven Wilson.
Well, we should talk about Steven
Yeah.
Wilson. I don't think I have any vinyl involving Steven Wilson, but
Probably not. But
well, I have vinyl that involves Steven Wilson when he remastered or remixed some of them. Like I've got like he remixes a lot of old prog. He's become the go-to guy to like really re-listen to old albums and like give them a fresh mix, and then they can make more money off the same old tracks. But it's good to hear his perspective on some of them. But I have some old Jethro Tull we could check out. Maybe that'll come up in the J's. We'll see what happens. I'm trying to because there's 52 weeks in a year. And there's 26 letters in the alphabet, which means we can get two 1 letter times 2. So this is going to cover off D. I'm not going to call a technicality and make it a K, although I could. But it's going to be D for Dire Straits.
Because was his brother David?
Yeah, David Knopfler was in the band up until I don't think he was on this album actually. I think he was on up until Love Over Gold, and then I think he was done. Really, it always was Mark Knopfler's band. In fact, it was really sad. I don't know if you watched the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction with me, but they actually got in the Rock Hall a couple years ago, and like Mark didn't even show up.
Oh, really?
It's just like 2 guys that nobody knows,
really,
that are actually still in the band.
Why didn't he go?
He just doesn't get along with them or something. I'm not. I think it's something along those lines. I try not to get too caught up in some of the negativity, but a lot of these guys are pretty cantankerous. They've had success and they're happy that they've had success, but they're artists, and artists usually just don't want to be bothered. They just want to go make art. And I've always got the impression that Mark Knopfler is one of those guys. Yeah, he was such here we go, punny. This is very punny. Okay. He's been instrumental in also bringing to light and awareness the importance of Chet Atkins. So we always talk about Les Paul because, of course, he has one of the most iconic signature guitars of all time, the Les Paul. Yeah. He was one of the most important inventors of recorded music as well. But Chet Atkins was the other side of that coin.
And was he the one that they did the album together?
Yes. That was in 1990. It was called Neck and Neck. Wow. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I have that saved.
It's a good record.
I love collaborations of artists. I always find that so cool.
Especially in that case, because there was a generational gap and it was a true, it was an example of where Mark was coming off of people knowing who he was, and he was using his newfound celebrity, if you want to use that, or cachet, to bring to light the importance of other acts. And you'll see a lot of the people that I love do that. Like we were talking about Leon Russell. Right. Bruce Hornsby produced his comeback record in '92. It's just also Long John Baldry had a couple albums out, and Rod Stewart and Elton John each produced a side. So
that's cool, actually.
Yeah, it's just a way that they can kind of pay it forward, pay it back a little bit, because a lot of our heroes nobody knows really, other than if you're a complete insider. Yeah. But going back to Dire Straits, I mean, they have really they only have 6 albums, and then then they have an EP called Decadence. No, what was it called? Here, I should pull up the machine. I can
It's
actually.
a clever name. Decadence.
Well, yeah, I think it might be. I might have just reached into my Extended Dance EP Play. Yeah, so it's Extended Dance Play EP. So it was an EP, had a song called Twistin' by the Pool, and it hadn't been released on CD for ages. I think it's finally, at least now, available to stream. But it was not a great song necessarily, but it had like 4 tracks on it. So, two songs aside. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun, but it was always that one little part of the pie that you couldn't get your hands on if you were a fan. Plus he had some record label issues. I think he was on Vertigo Records through his UK deal, but then in the US he was through Warner Brothers. So I don't know all the details around that, but a lot of artists from the UK got caught up in some of this record label issue thing. Warner was always a really important label for like finding things across the pond and bringing it over.
Well, actually, I was just watching Rick Beato just released another video today. It's about what was it? It was about he got into it was about Y2K and how it destroyed a lot of artists.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And it was very, very interesting. But he was talking about how in like 1983, there was all those like all the media, print media and television and radio were all owned by 50 companies.
Yeah.
And then in 2011, 90% of them were owned by 5 companies, which was like, and then Warner was one of them. Like Warner, Disney, CBC, I think was one. And then I don't remember the other
probably,
two.
yeah.
Or CBS, not CBC.
Well, and it's even worse. There are now Warner and EMI were feuding constantly because, like, if you go back to when, so Reprise Records was started by Frank Sinatra, and it was it was basically part of Warner Brothers, but he started because he was signed to Capitol Records and he was mad at them, I presume for money or something. So he started his own label and was actually recording for both at the same time.
Oh yeah.
But it's just funny, and like a few decades later, if I'm sure Frank rolled over in his grave, because now Warner and EMI are the same company. It's really sad. Yeah,
that's funny. It's almost like gang violence.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah, the territory got swallowed up. Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah, it's amazing. But their catalog, I mean, has always been available over here for the most part. But there was always that one EP that kind of was hard to get your hands on for a long time. But it is available on streaming now. But Brothers in Arms is definitely the one that, you know, it was the first CD to sell 1 million copies.
Yes, I was going to mention that. I remember you said they hit a milestone.
Yeah, and it also had enormous hits, of course, So Far Away, Walk of Life, and Money for Nothing, or, you know, really.
Forgot about Walk of Life.
Oh God, yeah. And that groove, like that he does that. That's a perfect example of the influence of Chet Atkins, right? So when I'm 6-7 years old and I'm hearing this stuff on the radio or seeing it on videos, and like my mind's being blown because I'm such a nerd already at that age, and I'm seeing like, oh, here's this rockin' guy with the MTV video, and he's like doing these countryish kind of licks and stuff, and
that is cool.
It was just a really interesting time. But they only did one more album after Brothers in Arms. It was called On Every Street, and even calling it They is kind of silly. I mean, really, I think on the wiki you can see all the different members, and there was I think, was it Terry Williams? I think might have been the bass player.
That name's familiar.
Pick Withers, always loved his name. That's the original drummer, but he wasn't even on this album. John Isley is the bass player. He's still around, actually. He's got a good presence on Twitter. Alan Clark on keyboards. Yeah, so a lot of the keys. Guy Fletcher on keys as well. Mark did have a really good long relationship with Guy Fletcher once he went solo. But yeah, on this album, Terry Williams was the other drummer that took over after
very
Williams.
Familiar.
Well, he also played with Dave Edmunds, if I recall. Through he has that British kind of pub rock country / connection, and then Omar Hakim. Well, Omar Hakim, well, when you start digging into the Sting solo stuff, you'll start to see his name. Yeah, Omar Hakim is just a fantastic drummer, and it's funny because my understanding is that when Mark finally came over to the U.S. when he became a solo act, and he was hiring American players, and he was like, he loved he wanted to sound more American, but then these guys were so influenced by Mark that they were actually sounding more like him, and he had to really kind of lay the hammer down as far as, no, I want you guys to do your thing, and
that's
for
funny.
me to fit in. Yeah. Of course, nowadays with the internet, we take all of this for granted. We can pull up anyone anywhere across the world, but all 4 corners of the flat Earth, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was just watching a genre that I'm probably not going to get into. I can't remember if I showed you guys, but it's Mongolian throat singing.
Well, there's that new band that's got. I think it's them that have. They're on like Octane and on Much Loud. Like they're kind of a mashup between metal and, like, they have the guy from, like, I think Papa Roach does a duet with them, but there's like, it's all throat singing, but it's also kind of accessible metal too.
Yeah, it's a super interesting cultural thing that I'm
for sure.
I don't know if I could get super far into it, but even I don't know. There's lots of stuff like that.
Yeah, it's tertiary. Right?
Yeah.
Remember, there's primary, secondary.
Yeah.
Tertiary, quaternary. Is that the fourth one? It'll
Probably.
Have to be quad,
Quint.
You can just quinternary. You can have different circles around the things you love, but it's always good to at least check it out and just know that all the good stuff is from the from Africa and the rhythms, and then a lot of our melodies come from the European side. So, that's what makes us. But yeah, the last album under the Dire Straits name was called On Every Street. Some really great
Right.
songs
Yeah,
as well.
the name sounds super familiar.
Well, that sometimes the songs from that album come up on our vehicle journeys in the on the Deep Tracks Sirius XM, and yeah, it's just a great catalog of music. But then Mark finally went solo or stopped using the Dire Straits name in I think the first album was, let me look here, it was 96. Yeah, Golden Heart. Yeah, very very Dire Straitsy. It was great stuff. But he went down this path of combining his loves of like very traditional folk music with the light flourishes of the guitar, and he just became a storyteller, like a real full-on lyricist.
Yeah.
I find a lot of the guys really want to do that. Even Hornsby went through that stretch, believe it or not. You know, he used to have his brother writing a lot of his lyrics during the Range era, and then he started writing his own lyrics. And it's I'm not always necessarily in love with the lyrics, but it's just neat to see that they even want to take that side of it on to become a true voice and let their let their voice be heard. Another album that Mark Knopfler was involved with that is definitely worth checking out is an album called Missing Presumed Having a Good Time.
Oh,
Came out the same time as the Chet Atkins album. It was There was a band called the Notting Hillbillies.
Right. Yes, I had them saved for a long time. Yeah.
Well, it's another one of those curios in the catalog, because I think it was just an extension of, I presume, of his record label commitments or whatever, because it was on the same label, and Guy Fletcher was in it as well. They actually produced it together. But Paul Franklin plays steel guitar. Now, Paul Franklin Jr., technically, because his dad had actually built steels, but that Paul Franklin just revolutionized pedal steel guitar. He's a Nashville guy, and he became part of the fold. Like, he was a real foil. And that's not the only Nashville connection with Dire Straits. Do you recall the Vince Gill connection?
Oh, no, I'm not.
So
up
Vince,
my lore.
So before On Every Street, so when but after Brothers in Arms, of course, Vince Gill has always been a longstanding touring vocalist and guitar player. But he had his own albums through the '80s as an artist too, and never really took off. But Mark asked him to join Dire Straits.
Oh, really?
And at least a tour. And he almost did it, but he said, "No, I'm gonna try this. Keep doing the solo thing." And then he took off and became a
wow.
And it worked. So he said it was one of the most impactful things I've ever heard, like as a quote from any celebrity. He said, "The musician in me wanted to take it so bad, but the artist in me said, no, I can do this." And he did. So
that's
because I struggle with that too. I love being a side guy and an artist, and just a player, but I still want to be an artist too. I like writing songs. And
that's sweet.
Have my own voice, but So, and Vince and I share a birthday.
So, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so we're practically related.
Pretty much,
practically
basically
married. Yeah, he just doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, not yet.
But the Missing Presumed Having a Good Time. It was fun. It was a little more laid back. It's like a lot of these artists that they go through these phases of doing kind of pet projects, quote unquote. And often they'll jump into the country world a little bit. So this was his first sort of official foray into country, and the cover of it, actually, they have like that guitar there. They each hold one.
Oh, nice.
They each have. So it was almost like I presume it was a play on the whole. That was the album that made me popular. Now I'm going to do stuff that I want to do. Even Norah Jones did a couple albums under a band name called the Little Willies.
It's supposed to be like the name.
Super Entendre, multi Entendre. And Willie, of course, Willie Nelson, right? So it was an homage to him, but so that was her side project, kind of like the Notting Hillbillies. So and she also had huge success. So it's always nice to see that some of these artists, when they go through these phases of having success, what are they actually going to do with it? Are they going to go buy lots of guitars? Well, probably, but also get lots of houses and
Apparently, we were watching How I Met Your Mother yesterday, because that's kind of, we put it on in the background, and apparently my friend was saying that
now that Friends isn't on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
My friend was saying that the girl that plays Lily, something Hannigan.
The redheaded girl, or
it starts with an A. Hannigan, whatever. But apparently she's like done acting now, and she's just a realtor.
Oh, really?
Apparently, she's just like, screw this, I'm just gonna like sell houses now.
Interesting. It happens for sure, and you can't blame them. It's a racket. All this stuff is a racket. There's a lot of, and realty is an interesting one because you'll see a lot of people just in media go into realty too because what you're doing is you're cashing in on your name recognition.
Yeah,
So people know your name
definitely.
from that billboard when you hosted the news. Now you're going to jump over and you're going to.
And apparently he was saying that she doesn't have problems getting recognized,
Yeah.
which is
Probably
pretty
not.
cool because
Yeah.
How I Met Your Mother was a fairly big show, but
It was. And if it's the same girl I'm thinking of, she also was in American Pie, the movies.
Really?
American Pie
Yeah,
movies.
could
I think
be.
it's the same one, yeah.
And she was also the host on Penn and Teller's Fool Us.
Oh,
which is-
really? Okay, yeah.
which I love that show.
That's one of those shows I always see it listed on the guide, but
it's
I
great.
never-
It's awesome.
yeah, it looks like it's a lot of fun, yeah.
Yeah,
Penn Teller, hilarious.
they are.
Yeah, it's great stuff. And then the only other collaborative album that really matters with Mark Knopfler's in 2006, he did an album called All the Road Running with Emmylou Harris. It was a duets album, yeah.
Okay.
And then there was a live album and concert, Real Live Road Running or All the Live Road Running or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good that they collaborated on some some of his old material and then and wrote some new stuff as well.
That's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice collaboration of two of my favorite artists
Yeah.
getting together.
Definitely.
But Mark, I didn't stick with his solo stuff. It was that whole turn of the century millennium aspect too. Like once material got more available, I kind of spread it a lot thinner. So now I'll like check out an album once and then I'll never listen to it again.
Oh, it's so hard. Like even thinking about, well, I'm going to listen to Dire Straits. Like, you'd have to have a pretty big ego to say I don't have time to listen to it.
Yeah,
because
everyone's got time.
you have all the time until you die, basically.
That's
and
right.
You're always going to have access to it. So it's just a matter of prioritizing what you listen to. So, but it's really hard to prioritize it.
It is. And even this, like you saw, like we come from a long line of quasi OCD, and for me it's like, oh, what are we going to do today? Because we actually didn't have an album slotted in this week's slot, but just went through the list and it was either between this or the Beatles. So we started going down the alphabet. So we picked Dire Straits.
Who are the Beatles?
Oh, well, it's funny you mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Good Lord. Oh, well, we probably will have to do the Beatles. It's
At
kind of
some
hard
point,
to not.
yeah.
Yeah. My copy of, I have like a Capitol version of Sgt. Pepper. I think it's a stereo mix, but it sounds really good. Like it's an old one, but
Well,
yeah.
I think if you could do something obscure, like.
Well, we can talk around the Beatles and not talk about the
Yeah,
Beatles.
that's true.
That could be a
I
lot
mean,
of fun.
we've probably done it already at some point.
Yeah, well, we probably have touched on it at least too. Like Paul has a brother, Mike McGear, and he
Okay, I
produced his.
didn't know
Yeah,
that.
so we could talk about Mike McGear. The
I
album from-
kind of almost thought you were joking. for a
No,
second.
yeah, Mike McGear is Mike McCartney, but he went by
Right.
Mike McGear, and Paul produced the album, and it was like
Oh,
74
wow.
or whatever. Yeah, so there's a little curio there.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the whole Apple Records connection,
Right. Yeah.
that we could go into who was on Apple Records and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like to try and keep it to whatever's in the vinyl collection.
At least to start, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a good jumping off point anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely I owned or I still own Golden Heart was the first solo album, and Sailing to Philadelphia was a really nice album. James Taylor did the sang harmony on that one.
That's
Ray
cool.
Quicker's Dream was good. Shangri-La, I think that's where I stopped. By the way, your mom's dad, your grandpa Meredith, he's a huge fan of Mark's too. Yeah,
didn't
I
know
think he
that.
always says that's his favorite album of all
Really?
time. Yeah, and I think he bought some of the solo stuff later
Yeah.
in the later years too.
Interesting. Yeah. I wonder what would connect with him.
Well,
with that.
it was definitely that record that
Yeah.
that changed a lot of people's lives. Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms, and Paul Simon, Graceland, roughly within the same era. Although Graceland was a year later, but
That's funny too, because I was talking. We were looking at records yesterday at the Indigo, and he made that funny joke about Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Yeah, if he's listening, then he knows what I'm talking about. That was a funny joke, and Graceland was there, and I was educating him because
like a new version of Grace, or like a new
it looked
pressing.
new,
Oh, yeah, okay.
definitely.
Yeah, it would have to be. Yeah.
And I was trying to share the fun fact, but I couldn't remember. I just said, I think this album's responsible for ending famine somewhere. But
Close, apartheid.
something
Yeah.
like that. Part of it, yeah. Obviously not directly responsible, but like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it was because Paul, he kind of so in order to try and put pressure on South Africa to end apartheid, a lot of these other countries were imposing sanctions and trade embargoes and like visitation embargoes too. And So when Paul just decided to, nah, screw you guys, I'm just going to do this anyway, because he wanted to do it musically. Yeah, he ended up like hiring, South African players and recording a lot there.
And so he was actually in there. Like,
Yeah, he went and he got in big trouble for it. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily illegal. I think it was just counter to, what the common notion was, similar to like, Cuban things. But yeah, after that, that coupled with a lot of other events too, I think just, with Live Aid happening to music and politics, everything started coming around.
domino.
Yeah, a big domino effect. So by 1990, I mean, Nelson Mandela was out of jail finally, and then became, I guess he'd be president, right? I'm not the smartest guy in the world.
Died in prison.
No, did he? No.
That's
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
that's the Mandela effect.
Yeah, right. That's a Mandela. Yeah, that's
Crazy. Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, I forgot about that. So yeah, the cultural evolutions, but yeah, Graceland was really, really important with sparking what we call world music, which is such a white person thing to
weird.
say, but it's music that's not North American or identifiably.
Yeah. Well, yeah. When I was taking lessons with Chris, we were really doing the harmonic minor scale, and I was like, yeah, I think this is the one that's like it kind of makes me think of like Cleopatra, like an Egyptian sort of thing. And everyone agrees with me too. And he's like, yeah, but I think it's also mostly just not white music.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah,
you could call it whatever you want, but
put a name on it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's hilarious. But yeah, his soundtrack work continued somewhat, I think, through. But I'm not sure what he's done lately. He seems to come out with a new album every 3 years, give or take.
Oh, really?
And, it usually comes out. I listen to it once, go, yep, that sounds just like another Mark Knopfler record. And then I stop, which is not fair to him at all, because it doesn't mean it's not good. It's just, again, there's just so much good music. But I always enjoy it. And I definitely am really glad that he exists and that the music exists.
Sultans of Swing was one of the biggest pushes for me to, like, I mean, I was already learning guitar at that time.
Yeah.
But that was definitely a very big point for my guitar playing.
For sure. It's pretty rare that you hear like such well articulated clean guitar on a rock channel or whatever. It just pops out every time.
And like the fact that he uses his fingers. We haven't mentioned that, but I'm sure some people don't know that.
Yeah, I don't think he ever uses. He might now. I don't know, but back then, no, it was all in the hands.
Which is very impressive. You can definitely hear it in lots of his not sweeps, but
the rolls.
What is it? Raking.
The rakes. Yes, that's true. Yeah, he does that. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And he really perfected that. That's why, again, with Money for Nothing, like that, that's all in the hands too. And that's, he's got those upstrokes where he's not hitting a note. He's just kind of giving it that percussive sound.
And his tone on that song is incredible.
So cool. Yeah, it just cut through. And but again, that Chet Atkins connection there, I think I showed you that one clip where he and Chet were doing a show together.
Yeah, I think you were.
And Vince Gill was in the crowd. It was before Vince got popular. Yeah, they showed a clip of him. Yeah, it was
so cool.
Yeah, he was just starting to finally get his wings as a solo artist. But and when they trade off licks, like you can hear the influence of Chet on Mark. And then, of course, Chet just freaking slays because he does those rolling triplets. Those it's just so good. Yeah. He's quite the dude. Yeah, sure love him. Yeah, you bet. I'll put up a little bit of a playlist, I guess, up on Spotify as well. We'll go through. I'm not sure. God, I know where to start. I just don't know where to end exactly.
Yeah, you'll have to be the guider because I would just probably put songs everyone knows.
Yeah, well,
at this point, anyways.
I'm not going to make it too obscure either. I mean, I do find that.
I think you don't want to make it obscure just for the sake of being obscure.
Yeah. Look how deep I can go in this catalog.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of douches that do that, and I could.
Well, I don't hate it, but
it's just silly.
It's just if you like it, listen to it. Like,
to be honest, the Spotify playlists are outstanding. Like,
they are really good.
If you go like to there's probably a This Is Mark Knopfler or This Is Dire Straits and Mark Knopfler. It'll be
crazy.
Great. Yeah.
And it's almost like it generates it on the spot. And I don't know how it works, but I'd love to learn.
They do update them occasionally, like because I've had them saved down, and then it'll be like all of a sudden it'll be updating, and then there'll be like 2 new songs in, and they've probably pulled others out. So I don't know if they're constantly checking it through an algorithm, or if they just
I
randomly.
don't know, but
The labels might get involved too. But yeah,
true. But like why I say that too, though, is that there's a lot of like I was mentioning, the math rock bands that I was listening to on Spotify, like Delta Sleep is one of them. They're incredible. I showed you and Mum some of them, actually. They're really good.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't think they have a label, because
yeah,
yeah, no, definitely not. But it's like you'll listen to it, and then they already have a playlist of like more like this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they literally have like 1,000 listens per song. How do they
Yeah.
already have a playlist? Like,
Yeah.
and it's like every single band has one, and it's just piles
Yeah.
to the infinity of music. It's like,
Yeah.
so if I listen to this because I listen to this,
Yeah.
then I could really like this too.
Yeah.
So
The sad part is that, like, so there's those algorithms, and they're constantly tweaking them, and it's intriguing, right? Because you could think that they're, wow, they're finding songs that I know and like and love, but they do find that when they study them, that it tends to end up leading to the same set of songs,
yeah.
at least through radio. Yeah,
I guess it would have to, though.
at a certain point, yeah, because you start to grab the fringes of what's popular, right? And then it starts to pull it in. But if everyone I know has unique music taste, right? Like,
Yeah,
we all think we do,
definitely.
and we do.
Yeah.
Everyone does. Even the most, normie will like, Florida Georgia Line and Hank Williams Sr. or whatever. Like, oh, look at how cool so though, for an algorithm to try and catch what the connections are to those is boy,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
crazy.
It goes far beyond tempo. It goes far beyond
I
key.
have no idea how
They attach metadata to them somewhat, like fun, joyous, happy, sad,
yeah.
angry. Like,
Even that's totally subjective, though. Because
totally is,
some
yeah.
of the like the happiest songs make me cry. Like, I was just
of course.
not even happy. This one's more angry, but I was just crying watching the Bulls on Parade music video.
Oh,
the other
yeah.
day. It's just so.
There's nothing
it's
more
just
powerful.
Art.
Yeah.
It's purely
It is.
art.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually. Yeah, I don't know. It's just so
Yeah.
inspiring.
Well, yeah, I wish I had some vinyl with Rage. I mean, we could talk. And they don't even have that many albums, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But 3 plus the covers record and then some live stuff. But it's
And they're all good.
yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could dip into Audio Slave a bit, and then the
Yeah.
Tom Morello solo stuff, and then of course right back to Springsteen, because Morello filled
Yep,
in for Stephen Van
definitely,
Zandt
And
for a few shows, a few tours. a couple
Gary
tours.
Clark Jr.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know. There's so much.
yeah. It's Well, there's something to be said for just being moved by a performance too, right? And
Definitely.
sometimes,
Well, yeah, like just I think you could just feel their energy, like in the music video. It's because the lyrics have made me cry in that song before. Because
for sure.
when I started
Yeah.
learning and getting into politics and stuff, it was very moving. That I was very inspired that they have the balls to say things like this. I'm
They
like,
do.
yeah, like it almost makes me tear up right now.
Sure.
Like,
Well, yeah,
it's so cool that they do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's coupled with like graffiti, very subversive graffiti art
Yeah.
that I'd actually like to get tattooed on me. There's
Yeah.
some pretty cool, like there's one graffiti. You know the cover of the Battle of Los Angeles?
Yeah.
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 So it's
The
like
guy.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's like
yeah.
that, except he's holding a wad of cash. And yeah, it's like that.
Awesome.
He's holding one, and in his body it says, "These are the thoughts that burn your cities." Yeah, and now I was
is
like,
powerful.
"Holy, that's awesome."
The sad part about Rage, though, is that I actually don't agree with
yeah, no,
politics. I'm like,
me
but
neither.
I just love the way you guys are like
Totally,
doing this.
yeah.
Like,
Well, and that's why
but
I
they're
think-
full on anarchists. Like, they,
Oh, yeah,
and I
definitely.
like okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I, mean,
I don't know.
in
about
some
that.
ways, I'd like to think
Yeah,
that
that's
could
why
happen, but
that's
yeah.
kind of what really opened my eyes. Is even over the past couple of years, going from like really hard left-leaning stuff, assuming anarchy falls off at left.
Yeah, or right, whatever. Yeah,
Who
it
cares?
It doesn't matter. Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
just
and
one
then
big circle. But yeah.
I can't say I've ever listened to hardcore racist music.
no, try not to. Yeah,
I don't think I have, maybe, but
You may have accidentally.
yeah, that's what I mean.
I think there are some. It usually falls in the punk territory.
That's
sadly,
true, yeah.
unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
Like punk got taken over by Nazism in the very late 70s, early
Which
80s.
sucks because a lot
Yeah.
of them were like my punk friend. He always
Yeah.
wore a crossed out swastika because he hates Nazis.
Of course, yeah. Which is, I think, what a lot of the true punks had to do because they had to disassociate themselves.
Oh, that's
similar to
true,
how
yeah.
intelligent right-leaning people have to separate themselves from proud nonsense boys and all that shit.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, it's a constant reminder that we're not. You can't just throw everything in one bucket. And
yeah, and but what I meant by that though is actually that I don't have to agree with everything. everything he said.
Yeah,
And
but the passion and the articulation and
if it was something I disagreed with, it'd be a little different. But I do agree with, like, you know, who there's another one. It's it shows them they're printing off sheets of white paper, and it says it's a hand holding cash, and it says who is above the law.
Exactly.
And it's
yeah.
oh,
Plus,
so-
we would probably feel a lot different if we lived where they're talking
Definitely,
about too,
yeah.
right? So, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
music has that power, and
oh
yeah,
my god, yeah.
yeah, and if in a way to bring it back to the Brothers in Arms record, I mean, the song. Money for Nothing, really, like the
yeah,
lyrics were
absolutely.
he was intentionally being cheeky and poking at the very thing that made him popular,
Yeah.
which I think is so brilliant. And,
Yeah.
and then of course he made the faggot line, like he used the word faggot,
Yeah.
and he definitely, like, I think I read he regrets it, but he at the time he was not putting them down. He was saying this is BS. This is about image, not about music.
Yeah, I think if you use a word like that, but if you use it correctly, then it's
well, for sure,
I
yeah,
think it's fine.
absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
but I'm also not homosexual, so I'm not offended.
Well,
by
yeah,
that,
of course,
but-
it's not for us to be offended by, right?
yeah,
It's,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a really cool song. What year was this?
This was 85. Yeah.
And when did MTV start?
81.
81. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
August
So
10th.
he was
I think,
ahead of his
81.
time. And
Well, he was. I mean, but yeah, he was also. Videos had been a thing. But they weren't super popular. They were used primarily on just either television shows. Like there would
Right.
be like a half-hour video show. They were actually, I think, more common in the UK. Like there would be like Top of the Pops, like those sort of television shows where they'd have live performances and then they drop in like a music video that had
Right,
been-
right.
like obviously the funniest one is is the Bohemian Rhapsody one, right? Like
Okay.
that was a music video from 1975.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
when they're all in black, and
Right,
that
right,
picture of
yeah,
them,
yeah.
that's classic.
I forgot
But
about
yeah,
that one.
MTV became just a really powerful force, and then in '84 we got the Canadian version, Much Music,
oh, okay.
which
yeah.
I never watched through because I always had the American satellite dish. But yeah, it changed everything from 81 to 84, 85. It was just everyone jumped on the bandwagon, started making videos, using them as artistic statements.
Well, it adds a whole other level of artistic layer to it.
yeah.
But yeah, the lyrics in that song at the time I never really considered them when I started listening to it. But looking back, even like Sultans of Swing, which was the one that, the lyrics in that are it's just it sounds like a story, but it's still cool.
It is a story, yeah. It's
I don't know if it's a true story.
No, I don't. Actually, I don't know much about that. Wow, I'm a bad fan.
Yeah, shame.
I'm gonna go do it. You know, this is probably a good time. I'm gonna
Yeah.
sign off, and I'll go look and see what Sultan Swing is actually about. Maybe you listeners can do the same, and feel free to shoot me a message. There's actually a link in the podcast description where you can actually leave a voice note, and we
that's
can
cool.
drop it into the show. And
Oh, that'd be
yeah,
sweet.
so
I'm gonna tell some people. About
yeah,
that.
you do that. yeah, we'll see if we can actually air them or not.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
and of course, you can always hit me on the socials at KARAC HENDRIKS, all of the platforms. Let us know what you're thinking about this show. It's super nerdy, and that's just the way we like it. And so far, we got a few listeners. We got more than 30, I think. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. So not
Holy.
bad. Now that could drop off once they actually hear what we're talking about. But
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
and hopefully everyone's digging the artwork that I totally
Oh, yeah.
ripped off the Super Mario Brothers
that looks
artwork.
cool, though.
Yeah, I was having fun with that. Is trying to keep it a little bit retro, but and if anyone's paying attention to, I've deliberately kept these podcasts to around 40 minutes, 45 minutes, which is the length of a proper vinyl 33 1/3 LP.
Yeah.
22 and a half minutes aside, 45 minutes,
I'll take
90-minute
your word.
cassettes. Yeah. 90-minute cassette blank tapes. You could throw a couple sides of vinyl on one side.
And then CDs were just by storage, right? Not by
Yeah.
time. But I guess that you could probably convert.
But do you know how they pick the length of storage of how?
It's what 8 megabytes. 80?
So no, it's
Or eight-
initially it was it's 800 megabytes.
Or 800, right?
I think initially though it was even like 740 megabytes or
Okay.
something, but then they managed to squeak it up to 80. So it was 80 minutes of music was the most you could put on a CD.
Oh, right.
But
yeah.
the length was originally 74 minutes, and it was because that was how long a specific piece of orchestral music was.
Oh.
Like whoever was involved in designing the
Yeah.
compact disc wanted to be able to hear an orchestra piece very clearly, cleanly, without
Yeah.
surface noise from a record or hiss from a tape. And they wanted it to be long enough that he could fit this specific
Right. So I
orchestral
wonder how
piece.
long it could be then.
Well, that's the thing is the technology was designed around that. So
Yeah.
once things
true.
got moving, you could have made like a Blu-ray disc holds like probably 100
That's true.
CDs worth
yeah.
of data,
That's
right?
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But because it's always the need, like the need drives the invention, right? So he needed a small little disc that
Yeah.
could fit that piece of music, and then we became stuck with that.
Well, so was it for personal reasons, or was it
No,
with the intent of
the
mass
intent.
production as
Yeah.
well as personal? Okay.
But they like a lot of things, like a lot of things on the internet. Innovation comes from pornography. In the
I can't say
music
I've ever
world,
heard that.
just think it through. Porn did it first, right?
I
But
guess, yeah.
but in the entertainment side, it always comes back to classical music because there's a refinement to orchestral and jazz.
Yeah.
So most things will come through that for fidelity. So the people that have money are the people that want to enjoy, quote unquote, the finer things. So they're willing to spend more or able to spend more on things like more expensive record players, or in this case, this digital disc that I can put in and I don't hear any pops and scratches from a piece of vinyl or have to sit and turn it over.
Yeah.
I can just let it play.
Yeah.
We hit over 45 minutes, so I kind of ruined it, but
Okay.
it's okay. All right. Well,
Under 50 then.
yeah.
Just change the rules.
Actually, on a complete nerdy note, you used to be able to fit 46 and a half minutes on a side of a 45 if you had the right. It was never exactly 45.
Right.
If I
Oh,
recall.
that totally makes sense. 45. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's 45 minutes.
Yeah, that, like on a blank cassette, there'd be 45 minutes aside. It'd be a 90-minute.
Oh.
Although the 60 minutes sounded better because they had thicker tape.
Right.
So, but
Huh.
they didn't. The 60-minute tapes didn't make any sense for doing an album. You'd do like a side and a half on one side, and then you flip it over, finish up that side, and then you'd have room for about another side of something. So for us OCD people, it didn't work. So you had to make mixtapes, which I wasn't really into because it didn't line up with my OCD tendencies.
Well, I made CD mixtapes. I made a couple now. I made 3, I think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Those are always fun.
They're fun to make, yeah.
Yeah. And the nice thing about making a mixtape or playlist even is you have to commit. You have to. Yeah. I mean, you can hit shuffle on something digital, but making that playlist order it's an art in itself.
And plus the fact that you're getting specific audio. Like I accidentally got a song. It was actually a Palais Royale song.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize how emo they were.
Oh, super emo.
But I really like their song "Dying in a Hot Tub," and the song I got, it was in 8D. So whenever we played it in the car, it would constantly spin around like we were in the and it was super weird, but it was kind of cool.
Wow, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they call it 8D. I mean, I can't even explain the fourth dimension. I've tried to understand it. It is super complicated.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, but when Travis Scott released his song last year, what the hell is Highest in the Room? I was really hyped for that.
They do phasing probably.
Yeah, he did. They called it 8D, and if you watch the video in VR and you have the 8D and you're looking around, and it's like, it's super cool.
I'm gonna go throw up.
Yeah.
Okay, this is KARAC Hendricks. That's Colin Hendricks. This road is mine. We'll talk to you next week.